What's going on, guys? You're watching the Shield Bearer Face. So I'm not gonna talk about my thoughts about the whole situation up in Minnesota right now on here. That'll be something I reserve purely for Patreon, because that's one of those topics you can't win. You post something in some categories and the amount of flack that you'll catch on YouTube is just ridiculous. So that's one that I will reserve my thoughts and opinions for Patreon. So if you're interested in that, before we get into the video here, feel free to go to patreon.com/ShieldBearerFaith. It's like $1. Anyway, this morning, having some different thoughts. You know, there's plenty going on. It's been pointed out to me all kinds of reasons why COVID-19 is about the worst thing that's ever happened. It's also been pointed out to me why COVID-19 is no big deal at all, and we're trying to find a middle ground. It's tough to find a middle ground, and I'm still working on a daily basis to balance caution with life, okay? But our governor in Virginia issued it's another order talking about you will be mandated to wear masks starting today, Friday. And you know, I got mixed feelings about that. So the mask wearing in general is probably a good idea. I wear an N95. You can actually see the blue stripe for it right here. I wear an N95 on every call at work right now because I think it's a good idea. There's so many unknowns when we go to various residences that we can't account for all of the unknowns. So this is just another piece of protective gear for me right now. It's, to me, similar to wearing body armor on a call. Okay, that's how I'm looking at it. So it's not really a big deal. It's a little annoying, but it's, I think, necessary for now. Just as an overt precaution to try to keep my family and kids from getting whatever, okay? With that said, I personally don't like that the governor came out and said that he's mandating that you're going to wear masks if you're in, you know, XYZ locations. And he's got some parameters. He's also got some ifs, ands, and buts that, you know, if you're exercising, all right, then you don't have to wear one. As long as you're maintaining, you know, social distancing and all that. Okay. The problem that I have, that may surprise you actually, especially if you've seen my video where I talk about, you know, personal property rights in reference to Nick Kalmalatsis, I think it was, in North Carolina. My thoughts on your rights to gather, your freedom of religion, and the freedom to practice that religion, your property rights to your own businesses and your own residences, all of that stuff I've mentioned already. That is entirely unconstitutional to restrict that. Okay? However, when it comes to these masks, I've heard a lot of people say it's unconstitutional for the governor to make these mandates. Now, I would rather it go through an official process, an official legal lawmaking process, right? Where it actually becomes a bill and it gets voted on and all that. But I can't put my finger on a spot where it would make the argument for unconstitutional status. I can't seem to find a spot where that would be accurate. And I'm trying to apply equal thought, okay? I'm not one of these people that agrees with Republicans just because they're Republican, or Democrats just because they're Democrat. I can think for myself. And so, same applies to this. With the property rights, freedom of religion, and all that, yeah, it was absolutely no-brainer for me that was unconstitutional. However, it's not the same right now for me in reference to the masks. I do not like that it is mandated, but there are plenty of health codes that are put in place for restaurants already. Now, do I think there's going to be a lot of hubbub and ifs, ands, and buts about how do you eat and wear a mask? How do you keep the mask from being dirty? What all the specifics are? If I stand up and I'm slurping my drink of water the entire time, do I ever have to wear a mask? All right, that's being so nitpicky, it's not worth talking about. It's got loopholes, apparently, okay? But overall, there's already rules in place for restaurants, okay? Like if you're cooking the food, you can't do X, Y, Z. Maybe you got to wear hairnet. I don't know all the rules for restaurants. I don't work in restaurants, but there's plenty of them. There's already seating capacity put in place, that, you know, for fire code. So it's actually not out of the realm of possible for the health department to enforce health things for restaurants. It sucks. You can look at it however you want. Maybe you could even say, oh, it should never have gotten to this point. Maybe, but we've been to that point for a while. Nobody was complaining prior to COVID about the seating capacity of restaurants or about whether or not a person cooking your food should make sure it's not mixed in with raw meat. Nobody's complaining about that, right? Nobody's saying that they wish a cook in a restaurant had less clean hands. See what I'm saying? So this kind of falls into the same thing. They can, as far as I can tell. Maybe I'm wrong. If I am wrong, please identify the location in the Constitution for me and put it in here. And you could probably more easily argue that I'm wrong based purely on the fact that it's an executive order. That's probably where we could agree, is that I already said, I wish it was actually done through a standard lawmaking process or standard regulating process instead of an executive order. But it is what it is. It's not the first executive order that's ever happened. It's my thoughts on it. So I personally, here's where I'll end it. I personally think wearing a mask is a good idea. I personally do not like being told that you will be forced to wear a mask. But at least for the right now, you go walk around public places outside, not gathering in groups. I don't think that the executive order is even touching that. It seems to be mainly focusing on indoor spaces. My guess is it will be mostly applied to restaurants. On top of that, apparently law enforcement are not going to be expected to enforce it, which is good because it's a waste of time to try to get us to enforce that. It doesn't make any sense if it's applied for something like health reasons like that. We apply criminal law. That's not criminal law. Then it comes up with the problem of the health department trying to enforce it. If the health department shows up, tells the business, hey, you got too many people in here not wearing masks, get rid of them, or we're closing you down. If the restaurant then says, hey, you guys not wearing the masks, put a mask on or leave, if you refuse, well, then it's trespassing and we're going to get called anyway. So many caveats. I hope you guys have a great day. I'll see you later.